Hi there. How's your English study going? I hope you're making good progress. Reading can be tough, so I've picked some online articles and videos that use easy English. I've highlighted parts with keywords from our past lessons. They're short, simple, and easy to understand even without much context. I hope this helps you improve your English.
Review and different perspective. Reading practice. For speaking. Read silently or aloud, as if you were telling it to someone else. Articles and essays are read aloud and paused after each chunk or sentence, giving you time to read and understand the meaning before moving on. The video does not stop, so pause it where you want to practice phrases or any parts that interest you.
Let me give you some examples. Gender-neutral language. How did that happen? What can we learn from the women's movement that...
How did that happen? A woman feels stuck in a job she doesn't like and wishes she had followed her heart instead. Now, she's afraid leaving might hurt her career connections. The advice is to follow her true calling and leave the job in a respectful way, using a 10-year test to see if she'll regret not taking action.
Mariah, and she writes, Dear wonderful Marie, here's the sitch. I'm in my mid-30s. God help me, how did that happen? God help me, how did that happen? And took a huge risk in my mid-20s to pursue what I always wanted, to live in Europe and turn my scientific career into one focused on mainstream media. And then what was wonderful became a nightmare, which included the death of my boss, and my work environment became extremely toxic. I left, encouraged by all to take a position back in North America for a prestigious government agency. Looking back, I realized I never wanted this new job, but now I'm here and hating it. I should have listened to my heart and volunteered for Habitat for Humanity in Malaysia instead. I would have had no money, but have been so happy. If I leave now, the people who hired me have a lot of clout and could make sure I never work in this field again. How can I reconcile my true calling and do what's right for me with possibly destroying some very influential connections? Thanks so much, warmest, Mariah. Mariah, this is an awesome question, something all of us can relate to. I mean, we'll all find ourselves at crossroads in our own life, and we can often struggle with, do we take the safe road or do we follow our heart, which can often feel a lot riskier, at least in our minds? Now, there's two important things I want to talk about today with you. The first is about burning bridges, and what I want to tell you is a tweetable. What's highest and best for you is always what's highest and best for everyone around you. I guarantee that by hating your job, you are not doing your influential connections any favors. In fact, you're probably doing more harm to your reputation than if you left. Telling the truth always wins. Now, as it relates to leaving your job, of course, you got to do this in the right way and take full responsibility for what you're about to do. It's one thing to send your boss a text like, I'm going to Malaysia to build houses. Peace in your crease. It's another to set up a proper meeting and really co-create a game plan so you're not leaving everybody in a lurch. But the second and more important thing I want to talk about today is a crucial test that'll help you make the right decisions every time, especially when they're huge decisions just like this one. Mariah, one of the first things you said is, I'm in my mid-30s. How did that happen? I'm in my mid-30s. How did that happen? It happened because it happens. The next thing you know, you're going to be saying, oh my God, I'm in my 60s. How did that happen? Oh my God, I'm in my 60s. How did that happen? You got to realize as you get older, time goes by faster and faster. And before you know it, you're going to be 80 like that. So here's what you got to do. You got to sit yourself down right now and do the 10-year test. Ask yourself, 10 years from now, will you regret not doing this? Whether it's moving to Malaysia or changing careers or starting your own business, really imagine your future self, you 10 years from now. Will you regret not following your heart? I'll tell you one thing you will.
Rejected, or maybe you've been out of relationships for a long time and yet you're finding it very difficult to get back out there again and feel confident dating, then this video is for you.
Have been out of. Some examples. I have been out of work for 4 years. He has been out of work for years. He has been out of work since September the 6th. I've been out of school for more than 10 years. You've been out of the field for 6 years. I'd been out of comics since I was 15. He'd never been out of Russia. They had not been out of the neighborhood before. She has not been out of this room for 6 months. She apologized, saying she had been out of town. She had only just been out of hospital then. He had only been out of jail since May 31st. Our motor has been out of order. Since August 25th, the gates have been out of order. Has been out of stock for a month. Some of it has been out of necessity. Some of it was done because I had to. Some of it was unavoidable.
Right? Our values change. Drinking and driving, take your pick. It's all about the timing. It's about change. You heard it in the first plenary. It's
all about. Think about others, not just yourself. Consider others' perspectives.
What does it mean when someone says, "It's not all about you"?
In my experience, someone who says that is upset. Because things aren't going the way they want them to. You are needing attention. And they don't want to give it to you. My ex used to say that to me. Whenever I got tired of always doing things the way he wanted. And I demanded that my needs be met as well. I also heard my 7-year-old nephew say this to his older brother. When he didn't get his way. He wanted what he wanted. and never really cared about anyone else. His older brother was always giving in to him. And letting him have his way. Little brother didn't appreciate it. When big brother stood up for himself.
It may mean that, from their point of view, you may indeed bring everything back to yourself. For example, you enter the office, and the secretary ignores you, busy doing things. You may think, what is wrong with me? Or, have I done something wrong to upset her? Or, does she not like me? And so on. While in fact, she most likely does so for her own reasons. Whatever they may be, having nothing to do with you. She was just preoccupied. Or being simply her rude self. She was just busy or being rude. In general, people do things for their own reasons. Having nothing to do with you. Even when they act from their dislike of you. They often do so in being wrong about you. Limited by their confined, and possibly distorted vision of reality. Confined. Confined means limited or restricted, like being in a small box. It implies that their vision of reality is narrow. and doesn't see the whole picture. Distorted. Distorted means twisted or warped. Like a funhouse mirror, that makes things look weird. It implies that their vision of reality is not accurate or truthful. Limited by their narrow and biased view of reality. Realizing that sets you free. To act constructively from your own perspective. Including the realization of the other's preoccupation. Constructively. Constructively means doing something in a helpful or positive way. Working to solve problems or make things better. Preoccupation. Preoccupation means being overly concerned or focused on something. Like being stuck on a particular thought or idea. Once you realize that, you can act in a positive way, from your own point of view. And understand what they're worried about. Understanding that frees you to help. Based on your perspective, and to see what's bothering them. You can approach with understanding and sympathy. Placing the situation in a whole new light. You take the initiative and give her a cheery good morning. You and she will be uplifted. Initiative. Initiative means starting something by yourself. It's being the first to act, or take the lead in a situation. When you decide to start doing something. Without waiting for someone else to tell you to. You take the first step, and say good morning to her with a smile. You make the first move, and say a happy good morning to her. You take the lead, and give her a cheery good morning. That is, what focus away from yourself can do. That's the power of focusing on others. When you shift your focus to others, you can create more positive interactions. That's what happens when you put others first. That's what happens when you stop focusing on yourself. That is, what thinking about others can do. It makes room for you to see things as they are. And then to affect them for good. You sense something is missing, and then you supply it.
From the archives. It's all about what are your numbers. It's all about asking yourself the right questions. It's all about what are your numbers. It's all about asking yourself the right questions.
There is always a part of my mind that is preparing for the worst, and another part of my mind that believes if I prepare enough for it, the worst won't happen.
There is always. From the archives. No matter how hard you try. There is always someone in the classroom. That gets better grades than you. There's always some other girl. Gets to go out with the guy you wanted to go out with. Since the beginning of the school year. Or there is always something there. There is always someone at the front desk to help you. No matter how hard you try. There is always someone in the classroom. That gets better grades than you. There's always some other girl. Gets to go out with the guy you wanted to go out with. Since the beginning of the school year. Or there is always something there. There is always someone at the front desk to help you.
Thanks for watching. I hope this helps your learning English.